This is Mark Sims, just asking a few questions, just a few questions. I have Harold Lucas on the line. Harold Lucas is the president and CEO of the Black Metropolis Convention and Tourism Council. Did I get it right, Mr. Lucas?
You did, and we also have our DBA, doing business as the Bronzeville Visitor Information Center. That is our trademark and brand of what we created at 3501 South King Drive in the historic Supreme Life Building, which we at one point owned and operated.
I got to ask you the heavy question. I got to go ask a lot of leaders in this city about this. The African American population has shrunk and will continue to shrink. So, how can Mr. Lucas? How can the African American population thrive and become more dynamic and not known for crime as our numbers continue to decrease over the coming years?
I think it's the metaphor is how rock becomes diamond and the pressure of it. That means that you still see the Raven come up on 43rd Street, the second business of the brother that has Norm's Bistro, right? You see that, and then you see out of this all the long history of the Mid-South Planning and Development Commission, Pat Dowell evolved as the alderman of the Third Ward. And then you see Bernie Lloyd, who just came into the community maybe 20 years ago, who now has both the 51st Street Commercial District run up and running, and he's struggling to get the Forum Building as a transportation-oriented hub on 43rd Street, where we're supporting the Brownsville 43rd Street Muddy Waters Drive Rhythm and Blues District from its traditional east-west boundaries of the Black Metropolis National Heritage Area, that being 500 West Stewart Avenue, all the way to the lakefront. And at the lakefront, we got 3 new bridges coming to the lakefront. So we're clearly on the most valuable real estate in the Midwest region of the country currently. And we have 20% of the world's fresh water at our doorstep. So there's no reason for, other than the white supremacist institutional racism perspective of who runs Chicago, that they remove us from this sirloin piece of real estate so that they can re-inhabit it. But it's not going to happen because of people like myself and all the other folks who understand the protracted element of the struggle that began with the 1919 race riots, right? We're 100 years out of that race riots, has a quality of life improved for African Americans. And if you weren't a self-sufficient, self-motivated, inclusive kind of person, you did not survive what we're going through right now. All the sold out Negroes who take the check and hustle the public, et cetera, they're going to fall by the wayside because your content is not there in terms of how we emancipate the masses of people. If we're not about emancipating Bebe and Ray Ray and the proletariat that are stuck in public housing and on Section 8 certificates to move beyond decent, safe, and affordable housing to economic wealth and wealth creation, then what are we talking about? We're talking about packing our bags because Chicago's going right down the road of San Francisco, Harlem, and New York. All the real estate barons want the real estate. They're coming in, buying up everything. And if we are not prepared to buy it up and create our own sources of revenue to do so, we're not going to be able to sustain our presence here. And that's what you're seeing. And that's what I say, those who survive it become the diamond in the rough.
I can't agree with you, but I've been hearing since I've been a teenager, and that's been 40 years ago. I've been hearing this for 40 years. Oh, they're gonna move us. They're gonna move us out, and the white folks gonna come back to Chicago, and they're gonna move us out of Chicago. I've been hearing that for 40 years. Now this is a modern era. A lot of the young European Americans, I'm not racist. I'm just gonna say this. A lot of the young European Americans that I meet, they're from Iowa. They're from Wisconsin. They're from Michigan. You know what I'm saying? Most of the white folks that were here when I was a kid, because you're 20 years my senior, they either gone out of the city or out of the state, or they since passed away. So who are these European Americans coming to take over the land? In your
I don't
estimation?
know if I think it's just the value of the real estate and the culture that they're coming to. The question is, how do we manage it? For example, on the November 15th, I spent my entire day at South Shore Cultural Center, the former South Shore Country Club, where I rebuilt the board out there 3 times in the 1990s, and we still gave it back to the Park District. You heard what I just said, right?
Yes.
Huh?
I heard. Yeah, I heard
Right?
you. Yeah, I heard you.
Clearly, the Palace for the People. We developed that. We saved it. It is our crown jewel. It is our revenue on the South Shore, right? But we don't utilize it as well as we should in terms of making sure that it becomes a revenue generator for the community surrounding it. So now you do an event over there on environmental, and you have the Field Foundation come in and literally try to support other ethnic groups coming into that facility in the midst of an African American community and try to change the environmental agenda. That's not going to work. You have to work with the indigenous residents in a given community. That's why we have all the problems with how can you take $750 million from the Illinois General Assembly, Obama, Mr. Obama, and Michelle Obama, and not give up a community benefit agreement on your elitist Trojan horse, Obama Presidential Center sitting in Jackson Park, expanding the campus of the University of Chicago at the direct expense of low and moderate income African Americans? I asked that question.
Well, I never met Michelle, so I don't know the Robinson family at all. And I only met the president once and saw him up close on the second time.
I know
So I don't know them, but I do know that poor people are marginalized, and all that other kind of good stuff. But they don't vote. You have a few people making noise, but do the masses really understand what's happening to their neighborhoods?
Where is civic engagement? Where is public policy? Who's building the public trust to even ask that question? When you got your politicians who think they run the black community because I got control, right? I'm arrogant. I'm double dipping. As soon as I retire, I'm gonna go get on ComEd's lobbyist board and make some more money while I watch this cultural corruption of Mike Madigan and the Irish mafia run the Illinois politics. And now they're gonna they got the audacity to even be so bold as to bring in the cocaine and the heroin from Mexico, fentanyl laced cocaine and heroin, and use the same tactics that they use in the 70 clear out the Bronx, right? Same game going down in Harlem right now. So you're going to roll in here and through the 14th Ward and have the guy that runs the major lounge on there indicted for selling heroin. Major story. And ain't nobody talking about it. And we sitting there watching Hispanics. Half of them ain't got round and gave them a little white card. This was all tactical. And Obama's involved in it also, right? Of replacing us on this prime real estate. That's what the game is.
Well, if the Obamas came to you, Michelle and Barack Obama came to you, Harold Lucas, and said, listen here, this is the deal. The South Side is so big that even if we move these black folks out, they still got plenty of places to live on the South Side. They can go a few miles here and a few miles there, and they'll still be here.
The little gang boys had a hit out on 167th Street, huh? So the same culture, what they're using to destroy us. I'm talking about the insidious nature of drugs being used through the Mexican drug cartels coming through the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 22nd wards into the black community that has destabilized our communities and created an atmosphere where our young 15, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old alpha black males who are from those disenfranchised families now have a pocket full of money, all the drugs in the world, automatic 40 caliber guns with laser beams on them, committing genocide against one another, and they went to grammar school. That's happening right now in the nose of the University of Chicago, and ain't nobody over there talking about it.
Yeah, this is nothing new, as you said earlier. But
it is nothing new. It is just the murder of black males in the regentification of the South Lakefront region of Chicago. That's exactly what it is. Spatial deconcentration, the land grab Luke Palmer talked about. I'm talking about it infinitum, right? I'm trying my damnedest to pass it on because I know it's going to take another generation. I gave up 43 boxes of my organizing from 1990 all the way through while I was at the Black Metropolis Convention and Tourism Council and the Brownsville Visitor Information Center, how we saved the Supreme Life Bill and how it was taken from us by insider Negroes aligned with the white Irish in this town who run this town and run this state government. So, and you're seeing the stories, and that you still, because we're so symbiotically tied to the house Negro syndrome, accepting the Negro share, we are like a deer in the headlights from the status quo leadership, not able to move forward with positive programs to create wealth and break the cycle of poverty among the truly disadvantaged in our communities. Yet we're now faced with having to go out and vote in huge numbers to get our Joan of Arc and Kim Fox reelected, and they're running the white Irish boy clean from served in Vietnam or served in whatever war he served in, and he's getting hugs in the butt billick and praise from precious black babies, and his commercials are running right now.
I know. You sound like an old race man, but we're gonna have to cut this podcast.
Let me wrap myself in that. I
No,
know
no.
what they
Wait,
did.
wait, wait,
I
wait,
know
wait,
what they
wait,
did
wait.
with Garvey.
I know.
Right?
I know. We got to stop this.
We know what they did with Malcolm.
I know.
Huh?
Can we do a part 2, Mr. Lucas?
We can always do a part 2,
let's
my
stand
brother,
by. Stand
the
by.
conversation don't end.
I know it. Let's stand by, and we're gonna do a part 2, and I want you to talk about handkerchief wearing, train smoke smelling Negroes.
Oh Lord.